We begin in Toronto and a ruling in a high-profile sexual assault trial. A judge has found Canadian billionaire Frank Stronach guilty of 1 count of sexual assault and 1 count of indecent assault. The 93-year-old businessman was found not guilty on 3 other counts. The CBC's Thomas Dagg is at the courthouse with the latest.
Billionaire Frank Stronach showed no emotion, looked straightforward at the judge through the brief hearing this morning here in Superior Court in downtown Toronto as Justice Anne Malloy delivered her decision. Initially, Stronach was facing 12 charges, including the historical charge of rape, but today he was only found guilty of 2 charges stemming from 2 separate incidents involving 2 women in 1977 and then in the early 80s. The first incident in 77, he was found guilty of indecent assault, another historical charge that doesn't exist as currently worded in the criminal code, but that incident involved a woman who said she was bent over where Frank Stronach tried to penetrate her. He was found not guilty of attempted rape in that incident, and then a few years later in either 1983 or 84, the judge says Stronach was guilty in a groping incident, guilty of sexual assault. After that wording, sexual assault, was added to the criminal code as it is currently. Here is Stronach's defense lawyer, Leora Shemesh, speaking afterwards.
But as I understand it, Mr. Stronach has been found guilty on the least serious offenses for 2 complainants who were not exposed in any way. He wasn't exposed, they weren't exposed, and what I mean by exposed is no one had their clothes off. And I'm not minimizing, obviously, the count of sexual assault, but if you take the time to read her Honor's decision very carefully, she has certainly used the appropriate language to describe what I would call a very minor offense for which Mr. Stronach has been found guilty of, and I say that for both complainants.
Again, it's worth underlining here, Stronach only found guilty of 2 counts, whereas the other charges were either withdrawn or he was found not guilty of them today by the judge. Stronach and his defense team will be back here in this courthouse in September for a sentencing hearing. He was allowed to go home without being detained today. He faces more charges from a half-dozen more female complainants. He will stand trial again on these similar allegations now well into his 90s. Next trial scheduled for next year in Newmarket, Ontario. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.